welcome to another episode of my weird little podcast. I know it's been a long time. I didn't do any episodes in October because I am the worst. I was busy doing Halloween stuff. I had a long stint of just literally not having the mental health ability, schedule, will to live, you know, for a while just to even be productive. It was a long time. Uh don't feel bad for me. I'm over it. It's fine. um, you know, but that happens, where you just you can't do your hobby, you can't be productive, you're busy, you're stressed, you have no motivation. That was just where I was at for eternity. So did not get anything done in that time. I am not prepared at all for the future of anything. So
It's a good start.
it's a good start. Yeah. No, I'm prepared for today's episode,
Oh, okay.
but I don't have future episodes planned. So any of my listeners, if you have stuck around, thank you. If you're still out there and you want to make suggestions, I would really appreciate it because I don't really have too many episodes lined up coming up. I know you're going to do an episode. Teresa's going to do an episode, which will buy me some time till I need to do another episode. I do have a cryptid. I promised Sinkhole Sam on my TikTok months ago that I was going to do it. I have the notes together. We're going to do that episode coming up. I would like to do more cryptids. I would like to do more weather phenomenon. I'd like to do that sort of thing moving forward. Weirder, the better. Even though that's not what the episode is today whatsoever. We're going to do something completely different. Anyways, I'm Tia. Patrick's here in the garage. I'm in my wonderful bedroom. You've probably seen it off of TikTok if you watch my TikToks. I am dressed for the holidays because it is already December. As of this recording, it is December 2nd. This will probably be released mid-December. And in true holiday spirit, I have an episode that takes place 2 days before Halloween. You're making a face. Did you drink what are you drinking?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I didn't realize it was that loud.
Your face was that loud. Yes, it was.
Yeah. The Snickers iced coffee.
The Snickers iced coffee.
Yeah.
We got at the dollar store. It's I'm assuming it's not good.
It's okay. It's just I don't think anybody ever asked for this, I don't think this is necessary.
You seemed excited when I was like, "Oh, do you want these?"
Oh no, yeah.
Yes,
it's like
definitely.
This is the pizza chips of drink.
Yeah. I'm drinking water with emergency in it.
Nice.
Yes. That's what I'm drinking, which I just ran out, but I'll be okay. We'll take a break mid-episode anyways, and I will re-up on my water emergency situation. Today's episode, I am coming at you with, I guess it's a true crime episode, but it's like no crime was committed. It is a disappearance of a person.
Okay.
However, they are no longer missing. They have been discovered, but the circumstances around this person going missing for the period that they were missing were very strange. I learned about this episode on Unsolved Mysteries, which is something I watch every single day. I sleep to Unsolved Mysteries. I was sleeping, and I, in middle of my sleep, woke up, heard part of this episode. All I heard was that his name was David, and it had to do with the number 18. And that is what I Googled, and I found the story because I'm so good. I'm really good at finding things on the internet and coming across stuff. I need literally 2 things about whatever it is. I was Googling, I knew this one story that was about this dead body that was found in a fun house, and there was tickets in the mouth of this dead body. They were using it to store these tickets, and I literally typed in dead cowboy mouth ticket and came across it. Which is an episode that's been done a lot. So that story, anyways, they're in like somewhere in Southern California because they were filming the show.
Yeah.
You covered that one on
No, I don't know if I did, but I just remember we did it on an episode. I don't remember if it was
I
me.
don't know if we did actually. Um
No, we did. I'm pretty sure we did.
anyways, the
Maybe not on
show
this podcast.
maybe on Hollywood's Haunted, but
Yeah.
I do want to do it on this podcast. I'm pretty sure I haven't covered it. My 4 listeners will know. Let me know. uh but basically they were filming the show Laughing at this like uh haunted house, and then they discovered that one of the bodies was a real body. I don't know. That's it. There it is. Now I don't have to cover it on the podcast because there's not much else to it. But I was able to come across it at one point, and yeah, I'm pretty good at Googling. Yeah. So, anyways, not to toot my own horn on my Googling anymore, but today I'm doing the disappearance of David Stone. So originally heard about this on Unsolved Mysteries. However, most of my information came from this article online called The Uproar. The Uproar, the student voice of North Allegheny Senior High. This is literally a high school newspaper that is nashuproar.org. This article was written by Michaela Golick, who is the child. I'm not sure if Michaela is I'm assuming I'm not going to assume, who is the child of the friend, one of the closest friends of Michael Stone, who was friends with Michael Stone at the time of his disappearance. So her dad tells this firsthand account of it to her, or him, this person who wrote this article. So most of my article is a direct, well, a couple degrees away from a direct account. It's an incredible article to hear kind of a firsthand account of the situation. So I would highly suggest, if this story interests you, to check that article out. It's pretty detailed. Like I said, I got some of it from Unsolved Mysteries, but also unsolvedmysteries.fandom.com. Perplexity, a mystery podcast. Go check out Perplexity. This video had 45 views. Please go check them out. The podcaster does a great coverage of this. I'll be checking out Perplexity more to maybe get some other ideas on episodes, but that was the first thing I watched video wise. I watched a couple other YouTubes. One is called Untold Bizarre True Crime. But like I said, I also got it from Unsolved Mysteries. If you want to look up that specific episode, it is season 3, episode 7 of Unsolved Mysteries, which aired in 1990. So the episode aired 2 years after this situation took place. So all of this is going to take place in 88. So I was 1 at the time, just to date myself. So let's get into it. All right. So born on March 18th, 1959, David, actually, I should start the story off with the reasons why I actually chose this. I chose this story. It takes place on Halloween. I missed a bunch of Halloween content I could have done in October. It is now December. This story has very strange circumstances to it, and I just thought that it was very fascinating, some of the ties into this story. So anyways, let's get into it. Born on March 18th, 1959, David, he was a 29-year-old stockbroker in 1988. He studied advertising at the now defunct La Jolla Academy. So La Jolla is in California. Have you ever been to La Jolla?
I think I've driven through it, but
I don't think I've been, even though I lived in California like my entire life. I know it is very close to LA, but not like.
we probably drove through it maybe once, but nobody's Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe we did when we went to San Diego because it's very close to San Diego.
Yeah, that's what I'm
But
saying.
um, sorry, I had to burp. I'm gassy. Pardon me. So La Jolla is a hilly seaside special community within San Diego, occupying 7 miles of curvy coastline along the Pacific Ocean. The population it reported in the 2010 census was 46,000 and some change. La Jolla is surrounded on 3 sides by ocean bluffs and beaches. It sounds beautiful. It probably is if it's close or within San Diego. Um, it is located 12 miles north of downtown San Diego, 45 miles south of Orange County. Orange County is also very beautiful and rich and wealthy. Um, there are some 16 communities in La Jolla. Climate is mild with an average daily temperature of 70.5 degrees. It sounds, yeah, I'm sure he's a stockbroker. He's studying there. Sounds like an affluent place where nothing bad ever happens. La Jolla is home to many educational institutions, a variety of businesses in the area, areas of lodging, dining, shopping, software, finance, real estate, bio. Da, 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 da. So you go there for school, you go there for tourism. But David Stone was here for school specifically. He played football in high school and college. His number was 18. So just remember that because that's going to come into play later on. He was a successful stock market analyst making good money. He had a stable career. He was also very big in the New Age movement. So, which is interesting. The New Age movement, it's a popular subculture that was came around in the 70s, was popular also in the 80s. This is the late 80s that this is taking place. He, by all accounts, was known to be very smart, have an analytical mind, but his father would describe him as having a dual nature. Especially when he played football, he'd become a different person when playing football. He was very domineering. And I feel like this is typical of people who, you know, get really into spiritual movements. They have this very rigorous, structured life, and then they find something that is the complete antithesis of it, and they get really into it, you know. At least that's the case here, or at least what it seems. So
Well, it's interesting. Just to add on to that, there was a football player, Ricky Williams, who was he was phenomenal. And he only did like 2 or 3 years, and then he found himself spiritually and just did a complete 180.
is this he went to like your school or?
Oh no, he was a professional football
Oh,
player.
okay.
But the whole world was upset, that like this happened, But it was I feel like that does happen
I
every now and
mean,
then.
yeah. And there's something about being on a sports team, without me offending too many people, that maybe runs parallel to joining some sort of group religious movement as well.
Mm-hmm.
I digress.
Mm-hmm.
Some people need to follow. But so the New Age if you don't know what New Age is a range of spiritual or religious practices and beliefs which rapidly grew in Western society during the 70s. It is highly eclectic and unsystematic. Unsystematic structure makes a precise its unsystematic structure makes a precise definition difficult. So it's kind of a mixed bag, which many cults and stuff I feel like are a mixed bag. Not saying New Age is a cult necessarily, but anyways, many scholars consider it a religious movement. Its adherents typically sees it as a spiritual or as a unifying mind, body, spirit sort of thing. So it is to unify the mind, body, and spirit. It is a form of Western esotericism. The New Age drew heavily upon esoteric traditions such as occultism of the 18th and 19th century, including the works of Emanuel Swedenborg and Franz Mesmer, who I believe we talked about Mesmer before, as well as spiritualism, New Thought, and Theosophy. We have talked about Theosophy many times, not only on this podcast, but on others. But we will talk about it again, I promise. More immediately, it arose from mid-20th century influences such as the UFO religions. Soon to start my own, actually, UFO religion. Me and Mitchell have talked about that many times, so stay tuned for that. We're going to be very fashionable. Also, if you want to go down a rabbit hole, please Google fashions within UFO religions. So influences such as UFO religions of the 1950s and countercultures of the 1960s and the human potential movement. Its exact origins remain contested, but it became a major movement in the 70s, at which time it was centered largely in the United Kingdom. It expanded widely in the 1980s and 90s, in particular to the United States, which basically brings us to where we are now in the story. I digress. You can look into more about it. So this is 1988. A few weeks prior to Halloween, students at the academy, they were asked to design magazine covers. So David, he's studying advertising, and he is asked to design a magazine cover for a place that they would like to visit. And David chooses Sedona, Arizona. Have you ever been to Sedona?
I don't think so.
But
the painted desert, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah. Mm-hmm. So David gets really, really, really into this, almost obsessively into Sedona. And Sedona is a city that is in Arizona. Its main attraction is its array of red sandstone formations. So it's got these beautiful red mountains throughout. It is gorgeous. I went there as a child, and I still remember how beautiful it was. The formations appear to glow in brilliant orange and red when illuminated by the rising or setting sun. The red rocks form a popular background for many activities, ranging from spiritual pursuits to the hundreds of hiking and mountain biking trails. It is a popular destination for vision quests. So it is a common rite of passage for followers of the New Age movement, which is known for self-enlightenment and spiritual growth, to have these sort of like vision quests to find yourself. So when he finds out about Sedona being this spot, he gets really, really into it. Here's a quote from the Uproar article from the point of view of David's friend, Mark Golick. The article was written by Michaela Golick, like I said. So Mark goes on to say, David's enthusiasm on the subject Michaela says about Mark, David's enthusiasm on the subject puzzled my father, since he had never heard his friend talk about Sedona before. After class, my dad asked David, hey, what's up with all the New Age and Sedona stuff? David responded, oh, it's a very fascinating and important place. This response didn't lessen my dad's confusion, as David had never expressed interest in the movement to his friends, yet he talked very passionately about it in his presentation. Later that month, David held a Halloween party at his apartment on Friday, October 28th. Michaela goes on to say that her dad recalled it was a pretty laid back party. There were about 20 of us, and no drugs or anything like that were involved. Everything was going well until the end of the night when David saw a few of his friends practicing their putting with David's golf clubs. Among them were my dad and Anders. Anders was the roommate of Mark, whose daughter wrote the article. So David burst into anger and attacked Anders, pushing him against the wall and punching him repeatedly as my dad and the rest of the partygoers tried to break up the fight. When they finally split up the two of them, Anders was bleeding profusely, and David seemed to be in shock of his actions. With the energy of the night ruined, everyone began to leave the party. On their way out, my dad asked Anders if he needed to go to the hospital. He said he'd be fine. He was just a bit shaken and ready to go home. On the way home, my father realized that he had left his jacket in the apartment. It was a chilly night, and he didn't want to go walk home without it. Anders waited outside while my dad went back into the apartment. He searched the apartment until he found his jacket. On the way out, David blocked the doorway. My dad asked him if he was okay since his actions were out of the ordinary. Mark says, he never seemed to have any anger or control issues, at least not around us. We were with him all the time. Leaving, my dad more puzzled than ever, David said, "Don't you know what he represents?" At this point, my dad was not only concerned for his own safety, but also David's sanity. As my dad left the apartment, David said he needed some time to reflect on his actions. The following Monday, David was not at school. So that's very, like, do you know what he represents? That's very vague and foreboding, but that's where we're at. David wasn't at school. Another article I saw said that he was supposed to travel from San Diego to El Paso, Texas, to be the best man in his friend's wedding. He never shows up to the wedding. So at some point, people start to realize that he's not where he's supposed to be. So on Monday, Halloween morning, he was seen several times. So, by the couple days into November, that's when they discovered that he was missing. But we're going to go to the trail of, what may or may not have happened to David. So, on Halloween morning, he walked into the New Mexico desert, somehow ends up 145 miles east of Tucson, Arizona. At around dawn, a farmer recalled seeing him walking along a dirt road because it was unusual to see people in this remote part of New Mexico. The farmer started a conversation with him. David told him that he was looking for the beast and then continued on his journey. David's father, Harry Stone Jr., believed the beast referred to the negativity in David's life, which he would need to conquer in order to see his vision.
Okay.
Yeah. But also he said, do you know what he represents?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the beast, has been, we can all guess what that means, but the beast appears in biblical scripture of Revelations. Oh, I can't speak. Like, my body's like, do not say this. Like, it's like rejecting it. Like, I can't even say biblical. Oh my God. The beast appears in the biblical scripture of Revelations. And although its name is often believed to be one and the same with Satan, Symbolically, the beast represents evil, origin of sin, and or the negative aspects of human nature. So his dad was probably onto something, you know? So throughout the day, several other local residents recall seeing David in the desert, muttering to himself, acting strangely, and walking through rough terrain with a yucca stick. So they also said that he was not equipped for the cold weather. This is end of October, beginning of November, and they said that he was wearing like t-shirts and shorts with a walking stick. That's all he had with him. So now his car was found on November 5th off the same highway, parked near some pyramid-shaped mountains. As the search for him began, his trail headed northwest from his car towards Granite Peak. Searchers found a pyramid of rock surrounded by a triangle. On the next day of searching, another pyramid was found. Next to it was David's watch and 2 quarters. So it sounds like he's starting to leave his possessions behind that he has on him. The ultimate New Age symbol, the pyramid, represents a golden age of spiritual knowledge and scientific advancement. Yet it is also a stark totem of vertical hierarchical totalitarian power. You should just say that word. Hierarchical? Yes. I don't know. I can't speak.
I don't know.
Anyways, so it's a very strong symbol within New Age. So spiritual knowledge, scientific advancement, but also power. This is something that David possibly could have left behind. However, we don't know. You know, it was his watch, but the quarters might not have been his. These pyramids might not have been his. He could have come upon these, you know, and left his stuff there. 3 miles to the north, searchers found a string of numbers written in the sand. They realized that these were the Fibonacci numbers, which are often used by engineers and stock market analysts.
It's Fibonacci.
Fibonacci. Fibonacci. I'm assuming you know what they are then. For those of you who don't, so I did look into the Fibonacci numbers. I don't really understand it that much, but I kind of do. I'm going to let you guys do your own research, and I'm going to do a very, very condensed explanation of what it is, but they are important numbers in nature. So the Fibonacci sequence is a set of steadily increasing numbers where each number is equal to the sum of the preceding 2 numbers. Many things in nature have dimensional properties that adhere to the golden ratio of 1.618, a quotient derived from the Fibonacci sequence. So
that's like the ever-growing spiral, right?
Yes, that you see in seashells and, you know, the human body. So, yeah, almost a lot of things in nature have this golden ratio. And I remember watching some documentary that someone claimed that the Fibonacci sequence was like the proof that God exists,
right?
You know, or that there was a divine creator, which, you know, maybe.
Just creator, not divine.
Yeah, you know, there was some sort of, you know, interior, exterior designer, you know, possibly, you know, who knew feng shui and, you know, but to a, you know, part of the Fibonacci sequence goes 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21. However, when written out by David, or whoever and found in New Mexico, written in the sand near where David went missing or was last seen. The Fibonacci sequence, instead of ending in 21, it ended in 18. So was this a mistake? Or was this a reference that David was trying to leave behind? His football jersey was 18. And also he had left his car at the mile marker 18. So it may have been him trying to say something. Somebody said that it might have to do with the number 6 being a derivative of 18 and 6 being the number of the beast,
Interesting. 666.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It could be all those things. This guy was really smart.
Or none of them. Yeah.
So, yeah, who knows about that? So, anyways, I'm gonna try to wrap this up pretty soon here because it's already weird, but so it could have been a distress signal. Who knows? Bloodhounds tracked David's scent back to Highway 80. However, they stopped at a highway intersection with Interstate 10, which was 13 miles north of where his car was found. While looking through items in his car, his parents found a strange business card in the pocketbook Bible. It belonged to a man named Tony Ballesteros. He was interrogated by police, but claimed that he had never met David. He was camping with friends, and it was likely that his business card fell out of his pocket on the ground and was claimed by David while he briefly crossed through the campground on his excursion.
Mm-hmm.
So, this parents also found a strange note that read, "They think the word is in the safe. 6 knives in Rob's room. Use buys your tea and use take your chances on Halloween." Halloween had just happened the day that David had vanished. And also, according to biddytarot.com, the 6 of knives might have been in reference to the tarot card, the 6 of swords, which shows a woman and a young child being rowed across a body of water towards nearby land. Her head is covered, suggesting sadness or loss as she moves away from something in her past. So she's on a journey. Her child nestled is close to her body, looking for safety and comfort as they make the journey together. In the boat stand 6 swords, suggesting that the woman and the child are carrying memories or baggage from their past into the future. While the water on the right of the boat is turbulent, the sea ahead is tranquil. The imagery suggests that they are leaving behind a tumultuous situation, bound for a more peaceful and supportive environment. So this is also a symbol for his spiritual journey into something, peaceful and better, leaving the beast maybe behind. Mark Twain used this quote, the use buys your teas and you take your chances might have been a quote that, people will say, you got to take your chances. And I think that is a evolution of this quote from Huckleberry Finn. In Mark Twain wrote in 1884, it says you pays your money and you take your choice. So people will say you pay your money, you take your chances. I've heard that before. People have said that the tea might be a reference to him taking some sort of hallucinogen, which could have enhanced his spiritual journey. But his friends claim that he had never done drugs before, but they also claim that he had no, fascination with the spiritual movement prior to this. So far, he's had a fight with his friend at a pre-Halloween party, pre-Halloween party. He's obsessed with Sedona and the New Age movement, which has surprised his friends up to this point. He has been seen traveling into New Mexico, claims that he is looking for the beast, and he leaves a lot of cryptic things behind, such as a may or may not have made a pyramid out of rocks, his watch, 2 quarters, a cryptic message referencing the Six of Swords, which has to do with a spiritual movement, the Fibonacci sequence, as well as other things as well. So he is not ever found until 2 years after the Unsolved Mysteries episode airs. So on February 23rd, 1992, 4 years after he disappeared, 2 hikers found David's skeletal remains in the desert near Granite Gap, New Mexico, where he was last seen, and his items were found. It was confirmed that the body was his, but medical examiners and police could not determine the time or cause of his death. There was no evidence of foul play, making it likely that he died of dehydration or prolonged exposure to the outdoors. As I had mentioned, he was not dressed for the outdoors. He had only brought a stick with him. We never found where he got his water. We never found discarded food wrappers, said Hidalgo County search leader Ralph Dowdy. We're not used to looking for people who don't want to be found. So to this day, no one knows exactly what happened to David or why he acted so strangely before he left, or the meaning of his cryptic clues that he left behind.
How old was he again? Sorry.
He was 29
Okay.
years old. So, but he had been going to school for advertising at the time. But that is the story and perplexing disappearance of David Stone. And I wish it had a happy ending. I wish there was more of a conclusion. But I found this pretty interesting because of the cryptic clues and learning about the New Age movement, which I would like maybe to do more of an episode on, as well as, some of the clues left behind was pretty fascinating to me. So we'll touch base with more of the themes on this moving into the future, but hopefully we'll cover more weird stuff on this podcast. Is there anything you'd like to say, though, before we wrap this episode up?
Oh no, it's interesting, yeah, because like the whole not looking for somebody that doesn't want to be, or looking for somebody that doesn't want to be found. That's interesting to think, but it's also like I don't know. I really, because I feel like I've driven through Sedona like as a kid, we doing road trips and all that stuff. Definitely I remember like Painted Desert, like the rock formations and stuff like that, but not really many trees and stuff out in that area.
It's very barren,
super barren, yeah. But it also seems like a place you could easily find somebody if you knew like these other spots. But also, I mean, people go missing all the time, I guess. But it's weird because you're not leaving clues to be found; you're just leaving clues to something. Yeah, that's interesting.
And I mean, in America, if you are of legal age, adult age, you are more than welcome to go missing. You legally have that right to go missing, and police have no legal right to find you necessarily. Like they'll look for you because it's not clear that you went missing on your own free will, but if you wanted to disappear and not be found, you have the right to do so, and that can make searches for people very complicated, and that's a good thing and like a bad thing, here. It is your right to be, to go away if you want to,
I mean, I could understand that, maybe you have like a small family and, your family's not good to you or something, it's abusive or something and you don't
Yeah.
want to be by them, and like you just want to dip out, and like, so you start a whole new,
And you have your right to privacy.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I
um,
would see some situations, yeah.
yeah. But yes, that's so sorry to start the new season on a down note. That was really
Merry
sad.
Christmas.
But when are these happy? When are these fun and happy ever?
That's, that's very true.
So tell my listeners out there, thanks for sticking through. Sarah, I hope you are still listening to my podcast. Hopefully I'll get some new followers. Please tell people about my podcast. I love making these. It's just my hobby. I do not get paid for this. I do it for fun. If you have suggestions, any sort of criticism, critiques, let me know. You can find me on Instagram at My Weird Little Podcast, on TikTok at My Weird Little Podcast. You can find my personal Facebook or my personal Instagram. You can email us at My Weird Little Podcast at gmail.com, or HH as in Hollywood's Haunted, HH the podcast at gmail.com. Check out my other podcast, Hollywood's Haunted, the podcast. I'm no longer making episodes of that, but there is a huge catalog of episodes that go back several years. Not several years. I did it for like 2 years, but there's a lot of episodes there. Moving on into the future, I'm going to try to post as often as I can. I will try not to have bad mental health for over a month out of my hands, but I'm going to do my best, to take care of that. Take care of yourself, guys. Do not end up in a rut like I did. We're on the up and up. Everything's great. 2 more podcasts in the future, a couple of episodes coming out. Have a great holiday and stay spooky, everyone. Ooh.